Hello, my beautiful exoticals. So, in today's video, as you can see by the screen, this will be more like a lesson. It's a very important video in regards to women's health, regards to our health, and it's very informative. Um, so, what I'll be talking about in today's video, as you can see by the screen, is endometriosis, which is a disorder in which your tissue, the tissue that's similar to the tissue in your uterus lining, grows outside of the uterus in places where it doesn't belong. What this can cause someone to have painful periods. Some people with endometriosis, by the way, I've dealt with this ever since I started my period, which was at the age of 7, which is called precocious puberty, when you start your period before the age of 12. So endometriosis can cause painful periods. Painful periods are also known as dysmenorrhea. Dysmenorrhea, once again, spelled D-Y-M, Dysmenorrheah. Dysmenorrhea can also cause painful periods. And you could have painful periods due to fibroid cyst, and endometriosis can also cause fibroids and cysts, as well as um, painful periods. But dysmenorrhea just means very painful periods, and if you have very painful periods, it could be due to, once again, fibroid cysts, or due to you having endometriosis. I apologize for the repetitiveness. Just want to make sure that was heard. Um, so symptoms of endometriosis can be pain in your lower abdomen, lower back, rectum, or vagina. It can also be very painful when you have sexual intercourse. As far as your menstrual goes with endometriosis, you can have an abnormal menstrual cycle. It can cause you to have abnormal menstruation, or to cause, very heavy bleeding or heavy menstruation, which is also known as amenorrhea. Amenorrhea. If you have, menstrual flow to where you have to constantly change your pads, like way, way more often than you should be doing, or tampons throughout the day. And by the way, let me just insert this. Even though a lot of doctors are becoming more aware, of not being dismissive due to social media, due to people spreading awareness about women in particular and people with periods, about how they're not taken seriously when it comes to menstrual pain, even though they're more aware of that now due to people spreading their stories online. Some doctors can still be very dismissive and gaslight you into thinking that it's all in your head. So just know that if you suffer from painful or horrific periods to where you cannot get up out of bed, that mine's but my birth control, it definitely helped a lot. It definitely, yeah, and currently does help a lot, because I just don't get it due to the birth control now. Because mine was so bad that I was bedridden for at least 2 to 3 days, couldn't get out of bed. When I walk, would be crawling on the floor. Yeah, and it's, again, I know it sounds dramatic, over exaggerating, but it definitely was not exaggerating at all. Um, Whenever I would tell doctors that. So again, it can be due to dysmenorrhea, fibroid cysts, but again, endometriosis can cause all of those. Um, if you have a very, very um, debilitating, excruciating, just crucial menstrual cycle, whether that be with, painful, just, or it be extremely painful to where you can't get out of bed, to where it affects your quality of life, or whether it be or it's due to bleeding. Some other symptoms that you may experience if you have endometriosis are constipation, nausea, abdominal fullness or cramping, and it could also cause infertility as well, and ectopic pregnancy if you have endometriosis. So that's why it's important to get it checked out. And unfortunately, the only way that someone can detect if they have endometriosis is to get a laparoscopic procedure. So I've been dealing with this since the age of 7. So I've been doing I from the age of 12 was when I started doing research, and I was always told it's normal. But some women and people, once again, with periods, they don't have a normal quote unquote cycle. Um, it could be due to also hormonal imbalances in the body, um, as well. To where it can make their cycle unbearable. To where they cannot get out of bed, or debilitating and excruciating. So that obviously, not only if it can affect you physically, obviously, but mentally as well. If you have depression, it can make it worse, or all of that. Um, and also, just because someone has endometriosis doesn't mean that it only happens during their period. Some people with endometriosis, they can feel pain at random. There's a lot of videos about it on YouTube. It doesn't have to even be during. It could be during their cycle, and when they're not on their cycle, the symptoms can appear. But it'll make your menstrual cycle, much worse, or as it says here, can be far worse than what any woman should expect with her monthly period, since it's a progressive disease. Because of, again, the scar tissue, it's growing outside of the uterus instead of within the uterus, like it's shedding outside of the uterus. Um, how do you know if you have endometriosis? Again, painful periods, to where you can't walk, to where it just affects your quality of life, extremely debilitating. Um, and then another thing is vaginal discharge, pelvic pain, and lower abdomen discomfort. Again, constipation is another one mentioned earlier, painful and uncomfortable bowel movements. And another symptom too of endometriosis. Again, I've been doing research upon it for years. So, um, and the doctors too. When I went to the doctors in October, they agreed that I have it. Another symptom can be uh, pain in the leg at random, as well as always being bloated, like a really really bad bloat. Um, and especially during that time of the month, again, since it affects the reproductive system. And again, another article states that how do you know if you have endometriosis? Excessive menstrual cramps, to where again you cannot walk, you're throwing up, you have to be bedridden, you cannot do things, you can't function at all on your period. That's abnormal. So it means most likely you have endometriosis. Also known as dysmenorrhea. Dysmenorrhea means a painful period. Um, an extremely painful period, to where painkillers don't, you still feel just sickly and or in pain, like debilitating pain, even after taking painkillers. And again, a laparoscopy or laparoscopic procedure, which is a minimally invasive surgical procedure, can, unfortunately, that's the only way to detect and diagnose, to see if you have endometriosis, and the only way to get it out is to do a laparoscopic procedure, also known as a laparoscopy. And I apologize too. And then another symptom is, like, once again, abnormal or heavy menstrual flow during intercourse. So yeah, that was a quick little um, what is it, lecture on endometriosis. Actually, just one more thing, I want to show you guys the definition for dysmenorrhea. Okay, one second, please. I want to make for sure. Let me type in the definition, actually. So dysmenorrhea, menstrual cramps, but it's not just any menstrual cramps. It's cramps in the pelvic area with menstruation that cause heavy flow, passing clots, uterine fibroids, endometriosis, as you can see here. Very, very painful, very, very, very painful, extremely painful menstrual cycles and cramps. Again, to where it could cause you to be bedridden, you cannot function, causes you to lose work in school. Just know if they're that bad that you have dysmenorrhea, also known as painful periods. Um, And that could be, again, due to fibroids, endometriosis, cyst. What is a primary cause? Like I mentioned earlier, hormones, a chemical imbalance in the body. So what can help is to see a hormone specialist. And then it says if you have dysmenorrhea, also known as painful periods, you could have abnormal contractions of the uterus. If you look online too, some women do actually report them like giving birth. They said that their cycles were worser than them giving birth. Some women have, you look under videos about uh, dysmenorrhea and endometriosis, and a lot of women have mentioned that their them giving birth was a lot more painful. Oh my goodness, excuse me. I'm sorry. Was not as painful is what I meant to say than as them, during their period, during their cycle. So that's another, again, factor. You may have endometriosis or dysmenorrhea. And then the chemical prostaglandin, it means you have, what can cause this pain is having too much prostaglandins in your body, which make the uterus contract. And then secondary dysmenorrhea is caused by medical conditions such as endometriosis. So one of the reasons can be due to fibroid cyst. Another reason can be due to endometriosis, which can cause dysmenorrhea, aka slash also known as painful periods. Um, it's saying you could treat it with dysmenorrhea with NSAIDs, also known as anti-inflammatory drugs. Again, what would be even more better would be to get a hormone test, make sure your hormones are balanced. Dysmenorrhea can cause nausea, vomiting, and fatigue. Um, severe, again, it's a medical term for severe pain caused by menstrual periods. Sometimes it can begin 1 to 3 days before your period. And here are some things to, lastly, I apologize, that you can drink if you suffer from dysmenorrhea. Obviously, water, healthy caffeine substitutes, green smoothies, ginger tea, chamomile tea, and peppermint tea. And again, what is the difference between menstrual cramps and dysmenorrhea? Cramps can range from mild to severe, but usually they're severe and unbearable. So, which is why there's a medical for it called dysmenorrhea. Yeah, and then right here, pain usually occurs intermittently and can range from mild to disabling. So, yeah. Here, okay, then it says, here we go. As far as make sure your hormones are in check, here are some vitamins that can help you balance your hormones, until you are able to see a hormone specialist. Because that can also help with dysmenorrhea and painful cramps, and if you suffer from endometriosis. And in the meantime, before you're able to afford the surgery and whatnot, because it does take years, unfortunately, to get diagnosed for endometriosis. Um, but a number of studies have indicated that vitamin E, omega-3 fatty acids, I've taken that before, omega-3 fish oils, that also helped a lot. Birth control can help. You have to find which one is best and works best for you. Since some birth controls can just get rid of a period, again, just that's what I have to do for now. People may consider it a band-aid, but um, another one is vitamin B6 and magnesium. And then again, reduce your stress. Psychological stress can increase your risk of menstrual cramps and their severity. That's another thing I forgot to mention. Make for sure that you do whatever you need to do, whatever you can to keep your stress levels decreased and keep your stress levels down, because that actually can affect the way you feel physically as well, especially during the time of the month. And especially if you suffer from dysmenorrhea, endometriosis, that can make it, you know, 10 times more painful, 20 times worse, if not that. And obviously, what not to drink is high sugar drinks, alcohol, caffeine. So, Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you found this informative.